Welcome to the Running Channel podcast with me, Rick Kelsey, Sarah Hartley, and him, Andy Badley. Now, what comes to your mind when you think of these places? Font-Romeu in France, Sierra Nevada in Spain, Flagstaff in the USA, and Iten in Kenya.
Oh, it's January and you're already planning your next holiday.
Not quite.
Fast runners? High altitude?
Yes, yeah, correct. These are all training camps around the world where athletes train at high altitude. But what actually is high altitude training? And what are the benefits? And does it actually work?
And can anyone do it? Could you do it? Because aren't we about to start training for a marathon?
I've got to train.
Should we
I've got to start training at some point.
Well, that's something we should talk about in the catch-up, because your dedication to not training before 14 weeks to go is actually unbelievable. I've got a few thoughts on this. I've experienced altitude training in lots of different guises throughout my career, so I have an opinion on that. I'm going to talk through the science, unusually for us, so we'll see how we do on that, as well as answering your questions. And there's a brilliant question that Rick won't like, but he's going to have to answer it because it's been sent in by one of you lovely lots. So let's get stuck in.
So, are you about to pick on me?
Yes, I looked at your Strava, and I know you don't post absolutely everything on Strava, so
No.
we do need to put that caveat in there. But you've been banging on about how you're not willing to do 16 or 18 weeks training for a marathon.
Well, 18's ridiculous, 16's
Normal.
too many, and 12 is too little.
But most people think about it as a specific marathon training block.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm only going to do 14 weeks. So, but I wasn't expecting you to just stop running altogether.
No,
on Strava, you haven't run for about 3 weeks.
No, I'm making a concerted effort to decrease my load consistently until I start training.
Why?
Right. But do you remember when we had a little conversation about how you can do 14 weeks?
Yeah.
However, you need to look at week one and do week one and feel confident that week one isn't going to be ridiculously hard.
I've just looked at the calendar. It's quite soon now, actually.
It is quite soon, yeah.
So I'll get going
Welcome
again.
to 2026.
Well, I've had a little tickle in my throat for a few weeks. I've been playing around, maybe trying to sell a house, and I've had a few things on.
Doing any parenting?
I've been doing a little bit of parenting,
A little bit, okay.
which meant my ability to run has not been as fruitful as normal.
Right.
Your commitment has waned, hasn't it? I think 2025 was a phenomenally committed year for you in terms of running.
Doing
And what you're
anything.
experiencing right now is normal.
You can't judge my whole 2026 on 10 days.
Well, that's all we have to go off, I'm afraid.
I was actually giving you an out here. I was saying how diligent you'd been throughout 2025.
Yeah.
And everyone has a little lull at some
and
point.
how undiligent you're being now.
Yeah.
No, and of all of the people, we did joke about how you know, like a lot of people find Christmas and New Year period challenging from a fitness perspective with the food and the family commitments and all that sort of stuff. But we did also point out that your like year-round lifestyle is more or less Christmas.
Right. It's all coming home. It's all coming home.
Yeah.
In a few days' time, it's all going to kick off. We're going to get serious and we're going to follow Andy's training plan to the letter. 3 runs every week.
You're following my training plans to the letter.
With
News to me.
with all the deload weeks built in.
Yeah, that you're already thinking of those.
Yeah.
Get ready to
we are ready to
deload
go.
week.
I'm going to be at the National Running Show. I'm going to be running on the Sunday because I've got a long run that Sunday. I'm going to be doing absolutely
long is your
everything.
long run?
One
It's
thing
your
I am
Sunday.
doing on a slightly serious note though is
Yeah.
I am doing absolutely loads of S&C to prepare my body for it.
Okay.
So though I'm not doing the running at the moment, I am doing
How many
the
times are
working.
you in the gym?
Probably 3 or 4 times a week at the moment.
You have got an idea, Sarah.
Yeah.
Because you're coming to the National Running Show as well, aren't you?
I am,
I will
yeah.
be there. This is in Birmingham. It's a big expo. Everyone in the UK, we would love to see you there. We've got a treadmill on the stand.
We
Rick
do
could knock
have
out
a
his long
treadmill on
run
the
with us giving him a
stand.
little bit of support. Maybe some of the Running Channel crew, like Running Channel, audience.
That
coming
sounds
to say
like
hello.
such a good idea.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's-
it's so hard to fit it in, isn't it?
Yeah,
Let's have a look what I'm supposed to be doing on that day.
because it's it'll be nice and warm in there as well. Could be sub-zero outside.
Yeah. There's also, so we have a treadmill on the stand. Also, our friends at the Travelator company are also coming back to the National Running Show, and they're bringing the Gladiator.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
We didn't
Yeah,
make
but
yeah,
this
but
year
this
they're
is
bringing the Gladiator style one, so it's like on an incline.
the Travelator.
Huge treadmill, yeah.
Yeah.
Week 2 won't be a deload week, will it? No.
No.
2, no.
Week 2, probably not, no.
I'm going to have to do on the Sunday at the National Running Show 10K.
Oh, so we get you. That's
Yeah.
that's not too bad.
No.
Look at his
Is there a
face
shower
already.
there? Yeah.
Hey, that sounds like a
Yeah.
future Rick
10K.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's your running going, Sarah?
It's going good. So I'm half 5K training,
Yeah.
half marathon training.
That's an interesting combo.
It is an interesting combination. So last week consisted of a 5K time trial, which you paced me for,
I did.
and then a half marathon long run at the weekend, which was delightful.
How was your experience of I saw your half marathon long run, which looked epic.
It was so good.
Like a really lovely countryside route.
Yeah, finished at a bakery.
And it was also freezing at the weekend.
It was quite cold, yeah. But it was, compared to the conditions that we ran the 5K in,
Let's talk. That's what I was going to say.
basically like being on a beach.
So two prompts. Describe the conditions and then describe your experience this time of being paced by me.
Conditions, it was snowing. And hey, look, I know there are people listening to this who live in an actual cold country where they experience real life snow. Think of us poor people who never experienced snow.
And it was sub-zero. It was cold.
It was cold. And also the snow, it was heavy snow whilst we were running.
Yeah.
So we were having to like wipe it out of our eyes. So that was quite hard. You pacing, I think we actually made quite a good team.
We did, yeah. That's
Finally.
what I was going to say. But I've sort of, it was a
I
leading
basically
question.
just pretended he wasn't there.
Right.
But that went quite
is that how you
well.
got through it?
Yeah, and
Did
I
he talk a lot?
Yeah, but I kind of just drowned him out. He
We were
sang
making a video.
for a little bit.
I was told
it was
to
a
talk.
bit much.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
dropped him at the end though.
Really?
100% true.
100% true.
couldn't you be
Honestly,
bothered?
go watch the video to watch me dropping an Olympian.
Yeah.
You had to
Fact.
be fair, and in the previous 45 minutes, run an 18-minute 5K.
It's quite a bit under 18 minutes.
Yeah, true.
So
Much
can
to your
I
disgust.
ask how quickly you got round?
20:33. So
Just on her own in a park on a random Tuesday
going
morning
off
in the
watch
snow.
time, yeah.
Pretty impressive.
That's not far off.
No, I know. I was quite happy with that. So I've pledged 1950.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you could have done that
So-
on that day if it had been 10
you think?
degrees warmer and in a race.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Great. I'll just stop
Was
training.
the ground
now.
hard?
Yeah, and it wasn't.
I mean, it was
ran in
a
this.
road surface.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And I
So-
ran in the same park the day after, and it was so much more icy because it had like snowed, then rained, then frozen overnight. So I was glad we did it on the day that we
Yeah.
did because it was nice and grippy. How's your running going, Andy?
Pretty good. That was one of those classic, like, oh yeah, I've got to do this thing. So that became my session for the week because I had to do a 17-minute, whatever it was, 5K, and then a 20-minute 5K with you. So that was quite a good workout.
Yeah.
Then I did a good long run on Sunday, 90-minute long run with the last 30 minutes at marathon pace,
Nice.
which felt pretty good, especially given how cold it was. And then this week is challenging. I am solo parenting, which means both ends of the school pickup day. They have the long day because they do have clubs before and after school, but that means if I'm going to run Monday to Friday this week, I have to do it in the working day, which is going to be challenging.
Great.
So-
I'm excited to see that. We were talking about the fact that you're going to have to solo parent for the whole of this week.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten about the fact that you're going to have to add running in as well.
Yeah, and loads of people do it all of the time, so I'm not really complaining. And also, I left my lovely wife with the children for 2 weeks while we jetted off to Tokyo. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I am indebted. and
But
need
as
to-
Rick said before we started,
Yeah.
or Owen, new year.
Yeah, that's true.
It resets. It
I'm going
resets
to
on
take this
January
message
1st.
home and say,
Zero.
so I'm actually after this week, I'm up.
You're
right?
up. Yeah.
100%. That's the message I'm going to go home with and say, hello, I love you very much. By the way, you owe me a week. I'll see.
Let
I'll
us
see
know
how that goes.
goes.
And during this week, will you be getting to any altitude during that training?
Oh.
If I come home at the end of the week, if I say you owe me a week, I think I might need to go.
You'll be sent
I'll be sent to the
altitude.
mountains with no warm clothes. But yeah, let's talk about altitude training. That's what we want to talk about today. Dive straight into it.
Should we start off with like what actually is it? I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of people will have heard the phrase altitude training, but
Yeah.
what is it? What does it mean?
Yeah, and we're going to try to talk about what it means, not just for elite athletes, but for everybody, and whether it's worth it ultimately.
And that you might not actually have to go to the mountains to get the effects.
Yeah, we've got a
of it.
secret hack potentially based on a really, really new study, which Rick will absolutely love.
Might put your bills up though.
That's true. It could put your bills up. Well, it'd be definitely cheaper to do this hack
True.
than
Then go to a tent.
go to the Alps or Kenya or whatever in terms of that. So yeah, altitude training. If I'd said it to you guys before we were doing the podcast and all the sort of stuff we've done with the running channel, what would you have thought it was all about?
Going somewhere that's really high above sea level
Yeah.
so that the air is thinner
Yeah.
in order to get physiological adaptations so that when you come back down and the air is thicker, you can run faster.
Isn't it quite specific though, between 1,500 and 3,000 meters?
Okay, so we need to rewind a little bit because I said, answer this question as if you hadn't worked at the running channel and it was before this podcast. And there's absolutely no way, Rick, that you knew it was between 1,500 and 3,000 meters.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
It's
Saying I don't read
2026.
briefs?
Rick is clever.
No, I'm saying you do the research for the podcast.
This is
That's what
why
I'm
he
saying.
doesn't run anymore,
Yeah.
because he's just spending
God,
all of his
get
time
over this.
reading,
I don't run
studying.
anymore. My God, I have 1 week off the donkey.
3.
Rick's retired from running.
No, I did some over Christmas. Anyway, carry on.
So you're both bang on the money. Like air being thin and thick is relative to is the amount of oxygen that's in the air. So as you go up in altitude, the percentage of oxygen or the amount of oxygen that you're going to be breathing in diminishes.
Hypoxia.
Yes, exactly.
Good word.
Very good.
So less oxygen, hypoxia.
Oxygen deprivation.
Yeah, you don't want to be deprived by it by too much. But yeah,
Rick's
and
face.
that's where
Look, guys, we're getting technical. You asked for science.
Oh my God,
There we
they
go.
didn't ask for science, and they're going to regret it probably.
But that's the real version, isn't it? Because I mean,
Yeah,
some
that's the
people
answer.
just sleep in simulated environments like tents.
So I've slept in an altitude
Well,
temperature.
I
to
remember
talk
you
about
were
as well.
sending me pictures of your life sleeping in it.
Yeah, I didn't do it for very long, and that's part of the challenge of altitude training. But yeah, you need to go high enough that you get a physiological benefit, but not so high that you're going to get altitude sickness. And the higher you go, even within that 1,500 to 3,000 meter window, the harder it gets to exercise hard.
Yeah.
So you make a trade-off by going and training in the mountains. You make a trade-off for how hard you could actually run. So if you were like me training for a speed-based event relative to the marathon, then going to altitude and then actually trying to do my 1,500 meter kind of intensity sessions was really challenging and actually I would say impossible.
Yeah.
So you had to totally adapt the way that you trained when you went to altitude, depending on how high you were,
Yeah.
what facilities you have access to. Like I used to train in a few different places, and I had different experiences in all of them because they're all at different heights and they all had different facilities.
So I get how it works and I can see how it would benefit
Yeah.
people. But the science area which really confuses me is that when you train at these higher levels, it triggers your brain to produce more EPO. And people have heard of EPO.
Yeah, erythropoietin.
Yeah, which stimulates more red blood cells. But EPO, that's natural EPO that your body produces.
Yes.
But we've often talked about EPO in the sense of doping, haven't we?
Yeah, that's the I guess if you think about the most famous athlete, probably like Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
EPO is what's always been considered the endurance drug. So by taking synthetic EPO, which exists as a legitimate medicine for various illnesses where you can't create enough red blood cells yourself, but that's what EPO does in your body is it's to my understanding anyway, stimulates red blood cell productions. And red blood cells are what carries oxygen around your body. So more red blood cells means you're more efficient in general at carrying oxygen from your lungs into your blood, into your muscles to allow you to exercise because you need the oxygen to create energy and to be able to take part in endurance sport. And like if you're running a half marathon or a marathon, which are broadly entirely aerobic, you need oxygen the whole time to be able to do those things. So the more efficient and better you are at doing that, the faster you'll go in theory.
This all seems relatively straightforward. So you're training at high altitude.
Yeah.
You've got an increased aerobic capacity. You've got more red blood cells. Basically, you can push yourself harder without feeling the pain as much. But it's not that straightforward, is it? Because it doesn't actually work for everybody.
Yeah, and there's so many pitfalls to it. So first of all, if anyone's listening to it thinking, I'm going to go and get a bit of benefit from altitude training, broadly my understanding would be like if you're not going for 3 weeks, then it's not going to help you out. And even if you do go for 3 weeks, a lot of studies have shown that, I think we were looking before this, and we'll post some links in the show notes, that around 50% of people actually could be what they'd term non-responders to altitude training.
That figure really shocked me.
Yeah, so it's a gamble in a way. So you like, even as a pro, I gambled because it felt like to be competitive. You know, I was constantly being told that the best athletes in the world at 1,500 meters, 5,000 meters were from Kenya and Ethiopia, and they were born and live and train at really high altitude. And then the science was there saying all of these people who are cheating can't go to altitude or aren't willing to do that, so they have the benefit of staying at sea level, and then they'll inject EPO and that's performance enhancing drugs, so you're not allowed to do that. So I was like, well, I need to do this. I need to get on board with doing it. And I had
The going to high altitude, not the doing dry.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's careful. Someone don't clip that out and put that out of context. That's a dangerous thing. Yeah. So I need to get involved with altitude training in some way. But you
It's
go
so
into it not
hard,
knowing
though.
whether it's actually going to work for you.
And that must really play on your mind because, like you, as you say, you can't train to the same intensity that you are.
Yeah.
You're hedging your bets.
Yeah.
You're making a sacrifice either way.
Yeah, because it sounds pretty simple. Go to altitude, do some running, get fitter, and come down to from altitude. This bit's true. Coming down from altitude, it feels easier because all of a sudden you can breathe. Like you can breathe, but everything feels a lot easier. But then you also have this big physiological dip. There's like a window, I was always told, and that the science on this might have changed. But you got, say, maybe 36 to 48 hours from coming down to altitude where you could probably perform at a pretty high level. And then a week to 10 days or so where you're going to feel awful. And I've also experienced that whilst your body like readjusts to everything. And then out the back of that period, then that's when you could race and feel really good again. But then actually the benefits of having been at altitude don't last that long. Well, so then you've got a month where you'd get the benefits, and the first or 10 days or so of that is a write-off.
Yeah.
So actually like the precision element of trying to get it right for a race is really challenging. So it's a risk for people to do if they wanted to do it as a regular runner.
And probably why for a lot of people it's just not feasible because to get it all to line up, if you're an elite athlete and you're like making those sacrifices, then you're planning your year around altitude camps and training. But for us, quite hard.
Yeah, but I would have thought, though, it would be quite easy to figure out if you did respond well to it and you did gain from it, because you don't need a scientific test to discover. You can tell if you're back down after that 10-day period and you're back out running that you've responded well after 3 weeks of altitude training. Because there are some obvious benefits that everybody will get.
Yeah.
Like you get a lower resting heartbeat if you've got thinner air, for most people. Yeah. If you're living at high altitude. And also, for mountaineers as well, acclimatization at higher levels allows them to, go up higher mountains. They need to be based at a certain level to do that. So surely you, as an athlete, when you were there, you were like, well, I can feel if I've done 3 weeks in Font Romeu, if I come down and race, I can now feel that I'm better. Yeah,
the challenge would be that I would put to you is, what if I just did 3 weeks training camp somewhere warm and nice to run in, and I would still obviously get fitter because I've done a 3-week training camp. And
I feel like you're really skeptical of this, but you've
No,
lived
I'm not.
it.
I just feel like there are so many different things. It's so hard to do, like on yourself, a very clear test with a clear outcome, because it's not just like
there's no control.
It's not just there's no
like
altitude.
subject,
You can't split yourself in half and go to warm and altitude at the same time to see the benefit. So you're always going to have to do one before the other. And then there are so many other, like if you look at your social media feed, or if you look at like any sports website that's selling stuff for running, there's so many different things that might have more or less effect than altitude. Everything from like supplements to different shoes to there are so many different things that can actually have an effect on your performance. How much is altitude the biggest one?
No, I don't think so. I think like for most people, like I think if you're an elite athlete right now, you have to try it. You have to give it a go to work out whether it works for you. And then if you've got access to sports science support, then that's how you can work out whether it's genuinely useful to you. If you're a regular runner who hasn't absolutely maxed out the way that they run, so if you could run more miles, or you could run more runs during the week, or you could be more efficient or targeted or strategic with the way you break down your sessions throughout the week, then that's going to have a much bigger impact than going to altitude. Because also,
so we're probably not going to send Rick to altitude for this training block.
Exactly.
Then.
No, but this is key, isn't it? So this is between like amateur fun runners, if you like us, but who enjoy getting out, and Andy. So you and me, Sarah, it's not going to be beneficial. But all the studies, like the Live High, Train Low study, all that suggests that elite athletes were getting small percentage margin gains of maybe 1 to 4% gain if you're an elite athlete. But for most, like me and you, to try and get our 5K PBs, it's not going to help.
Well, funny one, we might be... because I think it's an amazing thing to experience, and it's to experience what the elites are doing, because we might be sending Sarah up to, she doesn't know this yet.
Yeah, no, I might be. I might be going. Yeah. But then so we would still experience a benefit, but just for the average runner, the cost, time, and like difficulty element of it, there are other things that you could do that are probably more accessible or easier to fit into your week.
Yeah, and there's before we come onto this study, this kind of hack, I suppose, it's worth talking through all of the different, or we might not cover them all, permutations of what I've experienced doing it. So, because I think there's a psychological element to it as well. A little bit like a few years ago, if you were lining up on a start line in super shoes or not super shoes, like you're at a psychological disadvantage as well as a physical disadvantage probably. And then if you're lining up as a pro athlete or a regular athlete and you're not sure that you've got the fastest super shoes versus the person next to you might have a different brand on, then you're already in your own head. And for me, I tried, so the highest I went to, I trained a little bit in Colorado and in Iten in Kenya as well. And they were both 2,500 meters plus I can't do the math, 7,000 feet maybe, that kind of height. And that was, I think, too high for me, anecdotally really, because I would go for 3 or 4 weeks. And then what happened was you can't just run hard straight away in the way that you would if you went on a training camp somewhere else, as long as you're allowing for the travel and jet lag and stuff. You've got travel, jet lag, and acclimatization to altitude. So you've probably got anything from 3 to 5, 6, 7 days, the first period where you just can't run that hard because you've got to be sensible and respect the altitude. Otherwise, you're just going to dig yourself a hole you never get out of for the next 3 weeks. Then you sort of have the same on the other end once you come back, just because of the travel and reacclimatization and stuff. So you do lose a bit of training time that you don't lose going to sea level. And the best I ever ran, and again, this is just purely a sample size of 1, but it's so unique. I used to do a lot of training in Falls Creek in Australia. So that's in, I think, what's called the Australian Alps between Melbourne and Sydney. And that was at about 1,600 meters. So arguably too low, or 1,500-1,600 meters in most people's opinions of altitude training. But I ran really well every single time that I went there, probably because the risks of going much higher were like massively mitigated. I probably got some benefits from the altitude and some just from training really hard with a group of people who were the best guys in the world at that time. And then in 2011, I like almost ruined my whole career by trying to do too much altitude. I went to Kenya, I went to Colorado, and then I was sleeping in an altitude tent as well. Because of this, I was like, well, I want to hold on to all of these gains that I've supposedly gathered physiologically from going to altitude. So yeah, I had this tent that my bed sat inside, and you had to zip yourself in and out, and it's like a pump that I think pumps in nitrogen as opposed to removing oxygen, because then the concentration of nitrogen is higher, so the proportion of oxygen by definition is lower. So it simulates altitude in that way.
And you didn't get on with that?
Physiologist at the time was like, well, you need to stay in it. So you can't, like, if you need a wee in the middle of the night, don't get out, because it almost like
wee
resets.
In the tent?
Yeah.
In a pot?
Yeah.
You weed in a tent?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Do you ever just hear stuff like that and you're just like, you know what? Don't want to be an elite athlete.
Bear in mind.
Do you know what?
Bear in mind I was married at this point as well.
Yeah. Oh, so, what? And she was in the tent with you?
In the tent, and she was in the tent.
She was asleep.
Oh no!
What? And she was in the tent, so she slept in the tent too.
Yeah.
Your
You
wife
both slept
deserves
in
a medal.
Yes.
Why did she have to sleep in the tent?
Did she also have to wee in the tent?
We're in a flat in London with like.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what's wild though? Is that if someone said that to me now, just wee aside,
Yeah.
sleep is like the best recovery tool that you have. So
Yes.
then surely is that not like negatively affecting your sleep because your
100%.
body's having to like work so hard overnight?
So what happened that year, and this is why I nearly ruined my whole running career, is that
Because you weed in a tent.
because I'm massively overtrained, I couldn't sleep, and every time I went to altitude, whether that was in Australia or in Kenya, for the first 2 or 3 days, there is something where it's effectively altitude acts like a diuretic. So you, in the first 24 hours, say you need more to go to the toilet more.
Need to get more.
Need to more wheeze.
To be fair,
but I found for the how long it was literally, I never acclimatized to it because I was getting out during the day and getting back into the tent. I had what I think is a rare reaction to it, but like I never acclimatized to the altitude tent. So every single night for 6 weeks or that I was sleeping in it all through the season, I was still having that diuretic effect, which is why I was having to wee in the middle of the night. And so I wasn't sleeping. I was dehydrated, and it was the middle of the season where I was trying to run World Championship qualifiers and all this other sort of stuff. And it got to like June, July, and I just had to bin my season.
Bin it. Well, it sounds awful. I mean, I actually have had to wee in a tent once. I was
Glastonbury?
No, I was actually on safari in the Serengeti, and I got out my tent in the middle of the night because we'd been sitting around the campfire having a good time, and obviously needed to go for a wee about 3 a.m. Pulled the tent back, and about 2 meters away, there was this enormous thing. I mean, it looked like a buffalo. I don't know if it was, but it had horns. And I thought, I'm just going to wee in the tent.
What did you wee in?
In a pot.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That you like ate and drank out of for the rest of your time?
I don't remember. I just remember
That's a
thinking,
yes,
I'm not
isn't
getting
it?
out of the tent.
That's a yes.
Yeah.
Right, should we talk about baths rather than
Yeah,
weeing?
it's that the end of that story is just that the following year I decided not to go to altitude at all, and to do all of my training at somewhere warm and at sea level, because I wanted the psychological kind of comfort of being like, everything that I'm putting into this is me. There's no physiological maybes. I was like, if I train hard and consistently and don't get injured, then I'll be at my best.
I feel like that's a good point on like trust as well. Like there's so many things that can help you with running, but if you personally don't trust it, then it's not worth, no matter what effect it might have on you or your body, I don't think it's worth doing. Like if you don't trust your super shoes, if you don't trust
Supplements.
your pacer, if you don't trust whatever it might be, the negatives will outweigh the positives for sure.
But it's not the benefit here though, because you can see if it works. It's not hard.
True.
You're looking at yourself and you're seeing the results instantly. You can tell if it works. For Andy, he slept in a tent in his own house, and it didn't work because it made him physically uncomfortable and knackered.
It's hard though because like it's not an
negative effects were worse than the positive.
You've also got medical things to think about, like to create. Don't talk through the science because I don't know it, but I understand the iron's involved in hemoglobin, red blood cells, and oxygen transport. So you need, and a lot of runners, some runners can be anemic anyway, i.e. short of iron. Going to altitude can exacerbate that. So I was always told to supplement with an iron supplement up there, in order to help with what I was going there for, which was to get altitude benefits. But then even that, like you have to take the iron at the right time of day and with the right kind of food. Like I think if you have it with dairy, it can inhibit the absorption of the iron. Having it with vitamin C, like orange juice, I think is good.
Right.
So don't hold me to those things. But it's so complicated that it does end up like you can massively overthink it. And then
one thing that's uncomplicated though is that
having a bath.
You might be able to not have to get on a plane, not have to go anywhere, and literally just get into your bath.
Yeah.
Or potentially hot tub. I'd like to explore this and experience the effects of altitude.
How?
There's a study that says exactly this could be as beneficial, if not potentially more beneficial than the average gains that an athlete might get from training at altitude.
What temperature do you have your hot tub?
37.5. Which
the problem here is this is
not
human
hot
body
enough.
temp.
This is hot. So the protocol, I believe, was 4 or 5 baths a week?
Yeah.
At 45 minutes each, and at 40 degrees, which is hot.
That is boiling.
Yeah. So I'm not recommending doing that because that does sound almost dangerous in terms of how hot that is.
Not actually boiling.
And how long you're spending in it. And they were allowed to drink water during their time in the bath. And also don't know...
5 times a week.
5 times a week at 40 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could drink water during it, but my bath wouldn't stay at 40 degrees. It would be like... It would be like 30 degrees by the end.
It would be quite a stressful experience.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to get someone else in to just keep pouring like kettles in to keep it warm.
Kettles, that sounds dangerous.
So has this been proven to have success?
So I don't know whether the study's been replicated, which is usually what they would do after this, is they would... I mean, it fits broadly with the idea of heat training and the benefits you can get from heat training, but this is different. It's essentially that passive heat training.
Yeah, and they found that 5 times a week, 45 minutes at 40 degrees C for a 5-week block, runners' VO2 max increased by around 4%.
So
roughly
the same as 3 weeks at altitude.
Obviously much easier than being at altitude.
Yeah.
But what's 45 times 5? How many hours are we talking that we're spending in a bath per week?
A long time, isn't it? It's 3.5 hours or something.
Yeah, because imagine this week if you were like,
225.
okay, look after your millions of children by yourself and squeeze in 3.5 hours of baths and your regular running training as well. Because at least at altitude, you're probably doing the same amount of hours of training, but you're having to go somewhere else. Whereas this is like... you and that bath.
Let's just go back to a minute. He's been doing some sort of weird maths over in the corner and not listening to you and just shouting out 225 hours. What are you talking about?
You guys guess what? 5 times 45?
45 minutes, 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah, but then times 5
It's
again.
3 hours 45, isn't it?
45 minutes times 5, 225.
Oh, minutes.
Yes, okay.
225 minutes, but then times 5, that is 1,125 minutes.
Okay, it's a long time. Yeah.
What's that in hours?
You know, just for the normal runner,
Like, I don't know, 17 hours or something.
But Sarah, just for the normal...
80, almost 19 hours of baths.
It's a lot. It's a
You'd
lot.
be so shriveled.
You'd be shriveled. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so
say
grippy.
you live in the Cairngorms and are doing the London Marathon, then you're naturally going to have the benefit of a training plan where you've been training at altitude and running at sea level.
Could
for
I
your race.
ask a
Cairngorms probably not high
geographical
enough, is it?
question?
Go on.
Where is that?
Scotland.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think anywhere in the UK is high enough to be considered true altitude training. And that's a nice way to finish probably is the standard model of altitude training, which we haven't talked about, is called live high, train low. And so ideally, Flagstaff is a place where you can do stuff like this, to my knowledge. I have trained at other places in the US, in particular, San Diego, where I lived up at altitude. And then you do a lot of your running up in the mountains. But then it's dependent on a geography where you're able to do this. But then we could drive some of the places we said you could drive for 20 or 30 minutes down to a track or a flat trail and then do a hard intensity workouts at like quite a lot lower than the 1600, 1800 to 2000 meters that we were
I
staying
see.
at.
So you're getting the benefits of living at altitude, so they increase red blood cells.
Exactly. And then you dip down for a couple of
Yeah.
hours, literally just to go and do
Yeah.
your really hard, intense workouts where you can breathe more oxygen-rich air and then drive back up the mountain again. So you're, 90% of the time. Yeah.
Well, let us know. Email in podcast@therunningschannel.com. Have you ever tried altitude training? Are you interested in trying the bath method? Do you think any of this has made a difference to your running? And if one of us does end up going to altitude this year, what do you want to know?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm up for being the guinea pig for the hack of the sitting in the bath. You still have to do
No,
some
but I
running.
reckon Rick is. How many hours a week do you reckon you spend in your hot tub?
5 days a week, probably half an hour to 40 minutes a day.
Literally
Yeah, see?
perfect.
Perfect.
So if we're just going to have to
So
pay
we're
your...
just going to have to increase your hot tub to 40 degrees and then we are there.
Yeah, so we're going to have to pay
It's
the
too
difference in your energy.
expensive.
Yeah, but if we were footing the
Yeah.
bill for a scientific experiment
Yeah.
and doing some kind of carbon offset, then...
Well, he
Yeah.
sold his house now. Hot tub's gone.
40 degrees is super hot. I don't think I'd want to be in 40 degrees. I really
Yeah.
don't.
So we're not necessarily recommending trying any of the stuff we've talked about, but hopefully that's given you a little bit of insight into the world of altitude training.
Should we talk about some news?
Let's do it.
Andy, you had some news.
Did I? Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, that was Rick hasn't done any training.
In our WhatsApp group that we have for the podcast, I just sent a screenshot of Rick's Strava. Like, whoa, he's really dedicated to this 14
flatlined.
weeks.
Is he dead?
Yeah. No, but we do have some news from over the weekend. It was, there's a really high-level 10K out in Valencia, which is becoming the city for running. The half, the 10K, the marathon, the same. There's so many kind of national and continental records set in those races. And it was the 10K over the weekend where there were two European records set. One in the men's, Andreas Almgren, and then one in the women's, which was Eilish McColgan. And she actually broke a record which had only been broken about a week ago. So that only stood for a week.
Yeah, she ran 30:08
That is fast.
to reclaim the European women's mark. But then also shout out to Joe Wigfield, who equalled a British record.
He equaled Rory Leonard's British record of 27:38.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's...
Which is mad in long distance
Yeah.
running, isn't it? To run the exact same time.
Yeah, and I don't know how it works from a ratification perspective, because on the track, it would go down to the hundredths.
Yeah.
And on the road, they never give hundredths. So I assume it's equal, but I don't know whether they're looking to see whether or not it's faster or slower or how they work that out with the chip timer.
Do you know what? I've just learned something there.
What?
On the track, it goes down to hundredths, but on the road, they don't do it.
Well, yeah, you don't ever see a road time quoted to anything beyond the seconds.
No.
Imagine, should we start doing that though? Imagine like when you run your marathon. I ran 4 hours, 5 minutes, 38 seconds.
Point.
38 hundredths. Yeah. Wow.
It'd be more galling to know if you did run and you were looking for an exact time, 4 hours, and you ran 4 hours 00 and then 0.21. It's like that.
Yeah.
That's how much you missed your goal by, is the 21 hundredths of a second.
Oh, absolutely gutting. Also in news, if you're interested in ultra running, there is a very, very cool race happening in the UK. It might have finished by the time this episode came
Winter
out.
Spine?
Winter Spine.
These races,
They are.
I understand the 10K, even if someone's running stupidly fast and I can't get near it.
Yeah.
I don't understand these. They're too hard.
It's absolutely ridiculous. There's a really good documentary about the lead singer from Archive who took on the Spine
Yes.
last year or the year before.
And funny enough, I don't know whether I'm okay. I'd not heard of Archive as a band.
Oh, their music's so good though.
But then I've discovered them through this documentary.
yeah, Tom bought a archive vinyl at the weekend.
Oh wow, he's so into it.
That's how into it
he
he's
says
got.
these documentaries don't have influence.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, great documentary if you want to understand like how grueling. There's a winter spine and a summer spine, and this year in the UK, as they've gone into the race, we've had a storm and like loads of snow. So they're pretty much in like knee deep snow starting. They've got it's like over 200 miles that these runners are doing. Looks absolutely grueling.
Yeah, not my cup of tea.
No.
Although you two keep pestering me that I've sort of said I might do some trail stuff this year. So
Oh yeah, you're doing an ultramarathon this year. You're gonna love it. Do you know what I'm really
you've
excited about? To
conflated-
see Andy like in a hydration vest, just like bobbing along on the trails. Do you know what I mean? I can't picture it.
In a
hydration vest. I've
no.
only run in a hydration vest once. And can you think when that would be, Sarah? It was something you and I did together.
When we did the Monopoly board.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I think we should redo this. This is one of the best videos we ever did. It was so elaborate. But it turned out no one really cared whether we ran the Monopoly board or not.
No, I know.
Why did no one watch it?
So rude.
Well, I mean, relative to other videos, it didn't perform very well, but like in terms of like the number of views it got, but like the production that went into that in terms of like
It was
the
good.
team we had to have out on the different
We even had
routes.
our own little pieces. You had a boat, I had a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was hard. It's long. I think,
I can't remember who won. Did you win?
yeah. I mean, no, you don't know. Go and watch it now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Not sure.
Who knows?
But it's something
Tom.
like, I think I ran about 18 miles.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
way.
you did,
That was the
which
longest
for
one I'd
you
ever
is
done
long.
at that point. Genuinely, I think
18 miles.
yeah.
Yeah, because I remember we like had to forfeit. We had to give you a forfeit at the Tower of London in order to like make it fair. Because I only did about 13.
Yeah. It was,
Good times.
and I got stitched up because I didn't necessarily know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You did though, and you got to take the tube at one point as well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I had to cover the whole distance because it starts out and down in South London in Old Kent Road, and then it's not. You don't do it in the order of the Monopoly board. That would be impossible. But you do it in the geographically shortest way of doing it is about
Maybe
17 or
that's
18
how we
miles.
get you to do your ultra. Though is we do it in the order of the Monopoly board.
No.
Questions?
Pete from Cheshire. I have a scientific question. That hopefully you could possibly answer at the running show in Birmingham, as I will be in attendance. Well, we were actually fast forwarded for you, Pete, and we're going to try and answer it now.
Yeah.
Although I imagine I'm going to struggle with this question. I'm really stuck with knowing the best option. When you're out for a long run and in the flow, but then everything starts to change when you feel the need for a number two. Sorry, Rick.
Love this.
From a scientific point of view, do you have a stronger chance of increasing speed but increasing internal processing? Or walking and slowing down the internal processing? I find myself mixing these options and cutting it very close. Love the science and the useless banter, but appreciate the biological science response in this request. Pete
What do
from
you think,
Cheshire.
Rick? What when you need a
When
poo
you
on a
need
run?
number two, yeah.
Do you think you should speed up to get home quicker and risk potentially increasing transit or the digestive transit, or you're going to slow down and walk and just hopefully you can stop it from just popping out?
My
Have you ever
advice
pooed
would
yourself
be.
on a run?
My advice would be.
He better not do because he wears his shorts 10 times in a row.
Well, if they're brown, you might
I
not
wash
tell.
them every time.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, real dig that. Real dig. I would suggest just preparing yourself so you don't end up in that situation.
So poo first, run later.
Get up early.
Go on, say it.
Get up early. Just let natural things happen.
What things are happening?
Going to the loo, going to the
what-
loo, just let
what-
let it happen.
It's
So
like-
getting up a little bit early, eating.
I
letting
imagine this is what
natural things
it's
happen.
like if you were to ask a member of the royal family to talk
Well,
about this.
one goes
Yes.
to the lavatory. One.
I think Rick would like that analogy as well.
I'll let you know if you two nominate me for an OBE. If I ever have to go
You want
up.
to go straight to an OBE?
Constantly
you don't want an MBA?
nominating you for an OBE.
Straight in.
Pete, what I would suggest, I've always been told and I've always slowed down in order to let your body reset and then gone back up to speed, personally.
Yeah, I'm fortunate in that I haven't ever
never
really had this
experienced that?
experience. Yeah. So I'm not sure I'm the best one to comment on it.
That's ridiculous. Neither of you have ever experienced running and needing a poo.
No.
See, Owen has.
Owen just piped up with,
Owen
I
just
have.
very quietly. I feel like that's a very if like on a morning long run, you get out the door, you've maybe just had your breakfast, haven't had quite time to go, and then suddenly you get the feeling where you're like, oh no. Usually though,
Yeah.
you got options. A, if you are near somewhere where you can go, I feel like it's always better to just like let it rip
Let it rip.
and then continue with your long run. Or B, slow down to a little walk, reset, realign, and then go. I feel like your body's very good at being like, oh, not now.
The closest experience I needed for the end Valencia Marathon, I needed a wee quite early on. So in like between 5 and 10k, all of a sudden I was like, oh no, I need a wee. and then I started thinking, should I drink? Like, because I'm going to need to hydrate, but I kind of need a wee. And then from 15 to 25k, I was like, can I wee without stopping? Am I going to be able to let this go and just
I don't
like?
think you can.
Can't.
I don't think
really
you can.
hard, yeah.
I know what you mean. I was with Owen doing Hackney Half
Yeah.
last year, and honestly, I needed a wee after 2 kilometers.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
dear.
really badly. And I just thought, oh, I'll try and hold it, and hopefully it goes away. Hopefully it goes
Yeah.
away. No, you've just got to go when you feel the need to go.
So did you have to stop, find a pause to leave for a wee?
Uh,
Let's say yes.
yeah.
Let's say yes. But you couldn't do it while, you couldn't let it out whilst jogging.
There was a designated space,
Okay, it was a designated space. Fine.
quite designated.
Did you wash the shorts after that run?
I can't remember whether this was in a full episode of the podcast or one of the club episodes.
It was in a
but-
club episode.
Okay, for context for everybody listening and watching, Rick admitted during this. We talked about whether we wash our legs in the shower. Lots of runners don't. They think like, gravity does the work with the water. And then we were talking about, do you ever just wear, if you're running on your own, do you ever rewear a t-shirt? It's just on the pile in the bathroom or whatever, where you've left it. Do you just pop it back on and go out? And you said no to t-shirts, but that you would wear a same pair of shorts up to 10 times.
No, I think I clarified it as 5 times if it was just, putting a short
And you
on
only
for...
run 3 times a week, so that's 1.5 weeks per average per short.
Yeah.
No, I was just talking roughly in the case that there have been times, maybe I've been on holiday where I've worn a pair of shorts.
On
5
holiday,
times.
in a sweaty environment.
Maybe I've worn for less than 5 hours, maybe 2.5 hours.
Less than 5 hours?
In total.
Oh, right,
maybe
right.
that's happened, but before, but I wouldn't let that happen again.
Right.
What I would say here is that Rick's backtracking massively on what he actually said.
Yes, correct.
So yeah.
Well, we've clarified it now, and
You
I
should
can
have seen
assure
his
you that
Google
everything's
search
washed
history
after
after
every
that.
use.
Well, I don't know whether we've answered Pete's question, but the next question comes in from Norway, Rick, and I would love to hear you tell us who it's from.
Yeah, I'm sure no, it's Rangenhild.
So you're
Rangenhild.
confident. So I mean,
Rangenhild.
I'm so sorry if that's not
Yeah.
correct. Rangenhild.
Rangenhild Hågerid from Norway. Hi, Rangenhild here. I mean, you're just doing this on purpose now, aren't you? Your friendly neighborhood battle counselor from Kristiansand. I have just started to use Runner, and they have me going on the famous long run every week.
Nice.
For me, the runs will take between 1 to 2.5 hours. My understanding is if a run is over 1 hour, you should hydrate. But how? Do I drink every 15 minutes or every 5 km or to feel? Can you share your hydration strategies? Running is my entire personality by this point. So I would like to listen to an entire podcast episode on this topic.
Nice.
Hydration strategies.
Yeah, interesting. How do you hydrate on a run?
Well, in the race, then I've got the regularity of drink stations. That makes it easy, and I'll have a little bit at every drink station broadly. On a run, I really don't want to carry water with me. And so I appreciate this is very specific to me, but this is when, if we go back to previous episodes of the podcast, we did get a lot of comments on this, where the night before my long run, I was picking my daughter up from swimming, and she's like, what are we doing?
Littering
And I
around
was
the neighbouring
leaving-
area.
Yeah, no, I didn't litter though. I left them there for like 12 hours, and then I put them in a bin afterwards.
Littering.
Yeah,
Hey.
littering. Yeah.
I live in the countryside.
Mm.
Take
Yeah,
nothing but
leave it how you found
take
it.
nothing but
Yeah.
memories, leave nothing but footsteps.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
oh my. I mean,
How I would do it as someone who isn't afraid of
it's the
carrying.
Bedfordshire Tourist Board.
Yeah. I would say drink little and often,
Yeah.
and then have it. So if you're taking a gel, for example, like every 30 minutes, could you do it so you take water every 20 minutes and then a gel 20 minutes after that, then water 20 minutes later, then a gel 20 minutes later. So your gels are like every 40 minutes and then you've got water in between. But yeah, I feel you. I definitely have a tendency to just drink too much in the first 5K, but then equally I forget about it. Sometimes on your watch, definitely on Garmin's, you can do this. You can set up drink alerts
to remind you.
And eat alerts as well, which is quite good because it like gets you into the rhythm of having little and often.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I would say regularly rather than like, definitely don't smash loads of water in the first 5K.
No.
You actually probably don't need any water in the first 5K.
Yeah.
And then once think about it similar to gels, like you just said, space it out evenly. If you're carrying the water the whole time or you've got a hydration pack on, then just little and often, but you don't need to go absolutely nuts and test it and see how you feel. If you're get to the end of your runs and you've got lots of salt on your skin, or on your clothing, lots of white marks, then you're definitely not hydrating enough. Or even if you have that and you felt like you were drinking enough water, then you might need to be getting some sodium or salt tablets or electrolytes that you're drinking during that. But just test it out. Now's the time if you're just starting long run training and they're going to be at the shorter end of that. Test it out before you're ending up running for 2.5 or 3 hours.
That's really good, looking for those salt marks that your body's kind of just giving out a really obvious sign that you need to hydrate more.
And there's massive differences in the amount of sweat in the amount of salt that people produce in the sweat that they produce. So you get heavy, salty sweaters and those that aren't. And so you can sort of personalize the amount of sodium or electrolytes that you take to compensate for that. And my first time at Valencia, I was covered in salt.
Second time,
not so much. No, I took a significant amount of electrolytes in the gels I was taking.
Nice.
Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Sarah, have you got a favour to ask?
I have got a favour to ask. If you're enjoying this podcast, then please do us a massive favour. Help us out. Click subscribe. And if you have a friend who also likes running, then please send the podcast their way. It is completely free to do, but it massively helps us out and allows us to keep doing the podcast that we love doing every single week. So thank you.
Yeah, and hit follow, subscribe, whatever it is. If you're on YouTube, then hit subscribe and tap the little bell icon. If you're on any of the other platforms, then hit follow, because then you will hopefully not ever miss an episode.
And you learn stuff like road racing, they don't measure in hundredths of a second.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's all
You're doing
Rick's
the track,
going to take
though.
away from
There you
this
go.
episode.
There's one thing you've taken. Goodbye.
One of the most sciencey episodes we've ever done. And that's Rick's takeaway.
See you next time.
Start training.
Bye.